Animal Well. Fuck this game. Seriously, fuck this game.
Do you want to explode?
It has no right being this fantastic. Before I get into why it's fantastic, I feel like it's worth saying that you should really play this game for yourself. This is one of those games that's worth experiencing blind, and I'd hate to spoil things if you're on the fence about getting the game or not. Even if you plan on only listening, I am going to be going over many of the game's secrets, items, enemies, locations, and anything else one might consider spoilery. There are some elements I may not talk about because I'm not going to stress myself out trying to make sure I cover absolutely everything. But if you're worried about spoilers, I wouldn't blame you for clicking off now. Metroidvanias have always been fun for me, particularly both Ori games and Hollow Knight. Something about those large, open areas with multiple possible paths to explore is just so inherently exciting. There's few things in this world that can excite me more than multiple open paths with who knows how many secrets down each one. Open world games are like that to a degree, but I feel more overwhelmed with my options there than I do in Metroidvanias. Maybe it's the restricted side-to-side movement and platforming, reminiscent of older 2D Super Mario games. That's not to rag on open world games though, I love those just fine. But there's something so nice and comforting about playing a charming Metroidvania. I can just shut my brain off and traverse old ground gathering missed collectibles with the game muted and listening to a YouTube video. It's a very nice way to unwind after work. Back to Animal Well, it's a beautiful pixelated Metroidvania set in a dank well, where you play as an adorable slime creature whose only motivation is to explore, collect toys and literal Easter eggs, light fires, should I have done that? Jump on bubbles, and escape horrifically large, demonic-sounding creatures that are trying to kill you. Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh fuck! What? No! 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 Holy shit! 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 Fun! I love Animal Well to bits. The art style, the environment, the music, the sound effect, the gameplay, it's all just fantastic. For the most part. See ya, fucker! Oh, what, you can put your head in those narrow-ass tunnels, but you can't put your head through that. Fuck you. I do have some little gripes that I feel are worth going over. Also, I'm gonna be covering the Switch version of the game, so sorry if some of the control stuff I mentioned doesn't translate to the PC or console version that you're playing. So grab your animal flutes and yo-yos and join me as we dive into this weird wellspring of wondrous wildlife and eggs. So many eggs. Animal Well's story is... Does Animal Well even have a story? Like, okay, you're tasked with getting the 4 flames from 4 focal points on the map, dealing with giant animal bosses along the way, but I don't think we're ever told why we need those flames. You put the flames in the animal statues you see at the beginning and open a hole in the ground to the final area, but your motivations are pretty non-existent. This is a bit jarring considering the emotional story of the 2 Ori games and the melancholic lore of Hollow Knight.
It's time to die.
Whenever folks talk to me about Animal Well, they mention the weird and sometimes horrific situations they ended up in, or some hilarious way that they died. So maybe the story is less about what's told to the player and more about what the player experiences. Whoa! Oh, the land of the capybaras. Oh, this is lovely. It's a giant heart too. Oh, they're so soft. Oh, they're so good. Oh, this is absolutely lovely. Still though, the biggest draw to replay a Metroidvania, for me personally, is the story. While seeing crazy stuff happen to the player can be interesting in the first playthrough, and maybe subsequent ones if you forget some of the zany things that happen, it's not quite enough to motivate me to return to the game after I put it down for a while. That's not to say I didn't beat it, and some of the post-game stuff I absolutely did. But once I got through Basso's multiple layers of content and finished the meatier parts of his lasagna of an open world game, as Donkey would call it.
Billy, isn't it like the lasagna of video games, right? I keep calling it an open world type game to be funny, but that's really what it is.
I didn't feel compelled to play it again. Personal motivation in the future will only be driven by whether or not I simply want to be in the well again. Never mind story progression or narrative cohesion, you are in this animal well because you booted up the game and hit either new game or continue. That's not necessarily a bad thing though. Retro games didn't need a deep story to motivate players to play their games. Once again, look at the first Super Mario Bros. Ain't no story told to you there, you just hit start and boom, you're in this world now, bud. Better buckle up, cause you're here until you die, win, or turn off the console. But, fine. Even Super Mario Bros. Had toads that gave you motivation by telling you your princess was in another castle. Oh, hey little man, I was just wandering this weird world looking for the bathroom, but, hey, if there's a princess I can save, I guess I'll keep going. Thanks. Let's try explaining the cast of characters that'll give you your motivation. You don't really meet anyone in a traditional sense. Animals are just kinda there. Well, some of them are friendly and, they help you out. Or at the very least, they don't hurt you when you interact with them. Some do hurt you, but sometimes they also help you solve puzzles. There's a peacock that stands in a room where your egg collectibles go, but yeah, they don't introduce themselves or explain why you need to collect eggs for them. In fact, nothing is explained to you in this game. Why were you born in a well? Why are you collecting flames, toys, and eggs? Who cares? Just go get them. If we're talking antagonists, though, there are boss creatures standing in between you and your objective, but besides the ostrich boss, who cages cats, the boss animals haven't really done anything heinous enough to warrant stealing the flames they guard. Like, one boss is a giant chameleon that you defeat by tricking it into eating porcupines. Like, did I hear it eating my family or something before I was born? Like, why am I doing this to this animal? I'm just this little blob of vengeance looking to steal everything these animals swore to protect, and no matter how many times they kill me, I always respawn at the random-ass yellow phones placed throughout the world. If anything, those giant beasts should be afraid of me. That being said, there's a reason why nothing is explained.
I actually wrote a bunch of dialogue for all the animals where they would, tell you what to do, and then later on when I was trying to make the game more realistic, I realized that animals don't talk, so I needed to cut that all out.
So at one point, some animals were gonna talk to us to give meaning behind our madness, but now we just do things because we want to. Not the choice I would have made, and it's not even an incorrect one at that. The game doesn't suffer for it. But hey, I'm not Billy Basso. So now with the story, or lack thereof, established, let's move on to the actual levels you're going to be traversing. The levels themselves are these rectangular rooms with all sorts of puzzles and secrets packed into them, but to describe it that way is to criminally understate the art style. Most areas have these little particle and environmental effects that I didn't really appreciate until I stopped to look at them while writing this review. You're always underground in a way since you're in a well.
You're kidding!
But the environmental art doesn't make these levels feel like you're underground. Yeah, there are some areas with dark tunnels and dark blue color palettes for the water-themed areas that give off a feeling of being deep underground. But other areas have waterfalls, fireflies, vines, water drips, snow, yellow shit, little particle effects that make these levels feel like more than just little rectangular puzzle rooms, and the environments blend together seamlessly. The vines aren't just for aesthetics either, they're used to obscure certain pathways and block your items so you can't cheese certain puzzles. I don't think I'll ever look at vines and hummingbirds the same way after this game. Besides particle effects, there's a bunch of little foliage and details that don't add anything to the gameplay experience, but they certainly add to the environment. Like, they didn't have to give us grass patches that sway when our disc flies over it, or glowing hanging vines in the darker areas, or glowing inchworms, or the little spike things in the peacock egg room that later show up at the mouse conveyor belt area, but they did. They did, and it all adds to just how alive these environments feel, which is weird to think about considering this is all taking place in a giant well, but it's still a lived-in well. With all this plant life, I'm surprised there isn't a fungus area of the game, like there is in Hollow Knight. Oh well. But speaking of environmental effects that make the game feel alive, look at those backgrounds and that lighting. Most of the backgrounds are just still images with light effects splaying across them, but sometimes there's waterfalls and machinery going on in the back, and that's a level of detail I can really appreciate. Things are always happening and moving. Again, it just adds to how alive the world is, even when it's not at the foreground. The game really is a lasagna of sorts with how many different layers were added to make each area so detailed. And the lighting, oh god, the lighting. Okay, so there are games that look good. There are games that look bad. And then there are games that look so fantastic you feel like you're witnessing something better than your own fucking eyesight. Animal Well, on a visual scale, is right about here. So the pixel art style is fantastic. I love it. I wouldn't hold that against the game's presentation. However, Billy Basso has admitted himself that the game uses low-resolution pixel art assets to keep the game's file size small, along with a custom engine that he himself made. The man himself admits that the pixel art assets are low resolution, meaning that you can see the individual pixels that make up each asset pretty clearly. And to be fair, there does come a point in which your eyes adjust. I mean, you're a pixelated blob, traversing a pixelated world with pixel grass, pixel water, pixel dogs. You just kinda get used to seeing it everywhere. Sometimes my eyes de-adjust and stare at certain pixelated qualities, and for a moment I'm taken out of the experience. It's never a huge deal, my eyes always readjust after a few seconds, but those few second instances caused by the pixel art are what bump it down to below amazing for me. Now the lighting, on the other hand... This might sound like an over-exaggeration, but the lighting truly is that fantastic. Look at the little wispy effects coming off those ghosts. Look at that water-reflected light casually splayed on the platforms of this dank cave. Look at the colorful wisps coming off that terrifying ghost cat coming to kill the shit out of me. Look at those swingy lamps. They didn't have to make them swingy and have the light sway, but they did. Now obviously, not every area is a well-lit piece of art. There are some sections that look a little plain in the lighting department, but so much of the game's lighting and particle effects are so stylized and gorgeous that it does a lot of the heavy lifting that the pixelated assets aren't. Being sprayed by low-res pixelated water has never looked so crisp, even when I can see the individual white and blue pixels making up the bulk of the spray. And hell, even though it's pretty pixely, the seahorse still looks fantastic. Alright, enough about the aesthetics. Let's talk about the levels themselves. Each area is a mix of tightly designed puzzle boxes and open areas you can traverse through. Not every area has a puzzle to solve, but sometimes simply getting through these areas is the puzzle. You'll come across all sorts of weird things like button-activated box platforms and barriers, trapdoors, conveyor belt platforms operated by mice, dogs, or yourself, floating ghost mouse heads weirdly placed in patterns, spring up from the floor when stepped on platforms. This game is so fucking bizarre. Oh, what the fuck? Yeah, that's normal. And other weird contraptions I'm not thinking of. Much like the story, the creation of these things is never explained, but I'm willing to let the levels pass on a lack of explanation because they really don't need one. These levels were handcrafted to have these mechanisms that don't really fit into the nature theme so that the player could have fun while exploring this weird little well world. Without puzzles or environmental obstacles to get in the way, these rooms are just big rectangles for us to run around in. Where's the fun in that? Additionally, puzzle mechanisms are a fun way to play around with your diverse range of items. I'll talk more about the individual items in an upcoming section, but suffice to say they add a level of fun to puzzle solving that I wasn't expecting. Seriously, the moments where I found myself in a head-scratcher of a puzzle, then I just played around with one of my items for a bit, just to accidentally stumble on the solution, are just glorious. Oh, what? Those things eat bubbles? Whoa, what? Whoa. What the fuck? I had no idea. What? That's what those statues are? That is insane. I would never have thought about that. I just happened to do that. That's the sign of a well-designed game, though. When you present a puzzle to the player and they can discover solutions they wouldn't have thought of simply by playing with the mechanics you give them. I very much prefer that style over gating the player off until they have the specific quest item, or shoving a bunch of tutorials down their throat about every possible way they can use the item, because playing around and discovering the game mechanics on your own is simply sickening. Players don't need the fun of discovery, they need to be handheld and told explicitly what each item does with books upon books of tutorials and meaningless bullshit they'll forget about until they actually need it. This being a Metroidvania, the map is naturally huge, with loads and loads of branching paths and little shortcuts you can open up to make traversal easier, and your items will make traversal easier too. Unlike other Metroidvanias that give you items to make blasting through areas a breeze, this game is pretty careful to not give you ease of traversal items until near the end of the game. Oh! Hell yeah! Fuck you, get out of my hair! While I was kind of annoyed by this in my initial playthrough since I'm used to Hollow Knight and Ori giving me items that let me blast through previously slow areas, I've come to appreciate it now that I've taken a break from playing Animal Well. Each area retains its puzzle-like qualities, even when you get upgrades so you're not too OP. Sure, it can be annoying trying to get across the map when you have to go through a bajillion rooms, and it can feel like a chore when you're just trying to get a stray egg only to realize you had to go back to an area you were just at. But to give the players an item to blast from room to room would defeat the purpose of the environmental obstacles altogether. Near or after you beat the game, you can get an item that upgrades your bubble wand to spawn infinite bubbles. While this is helpful for finding collectibles, there are always hummingbirds and vines to nerf the ability when necessary, and you're so slow when you're bubble hopping that it's not something you're gonna rely on non-stop. There's an optional item called the remote that activates certain switch-activated barriers and platforms without having to flip the switch itself, and it doesn't work in certain areas because you could cheese the puzzle that way. Even when trying to make the game convenient for the player, Basso made damn sure you were still gonna interact with the game the way he intended. I have no doubt there are folks finding ways to break the game and do skips and whatnot. There are rewards for speedrunning the game after all. But my point is that you're not given something that makes traversal totally seamless and rocket fast. So you're going to be visiting and revisiting these levels a few times if you want to get everything. I mentioned fast travel before, and thankfully activating that doesn't require too much of the player. Literal Easter eggs are your main collectible in this game. You'll get these suckers from doing all kinds of miscellaneous puzzle solving. And there's 64 of them in total, so they're kinda hard to miss. I mentioned a peacock before, and he's standing in a room where he puts the eggs on display and unlocks a special door for every egg quota you meet. 8 eggs will get you the animal flute, an item you can use to unlock weird animal heads scattered around the well to fast travel. They all connect to one central room, and I didn't learn this until I was nearly done collecting eggs, but apparently if you play right, right, left, left, down, down, up, up on the flute, you'll teleport straight to that room. That's what the fish in the basement is hinting at to you. You'll unlock other fast travel points in other areas, but they'll both link back to the basement anyway. The best part? No fucking loading screens. Seriously, even when you boot up the game and hit start on the main menu, boom, you're right in. No waiting, no nothing. However, there's a couple of presentation-based things I'm not a huge fan of. The first is the map. This being a Metroidvania, I expected the map to be large and full of levels, landmarks, and easily recognizable areas. While it certainly is all that, it's a little too densely packed for my liking. Near the end of collecting all the eggs, opening the map to clear markers off put a bit of strain on my eyes as I struggled to see what other collectibles I was near. Some of the room shapes were cool, like the kangaroo-shaped room, the face, the heart, the skull, the dick. Basso must have had a lot of fun designing some of these rooms. But man, that's a lot of visual stimuli. My brain gets overwhelmed easily, and oh boy, that's a lot to look at right there. You do get a pencil tool as a reward for collecting 16 eggs so you can write or draw whatever you want on the map, but I never used it, honestly. I kinda forgot it exists until writing this. Second thing, while I praise the levels for how they look and their puzzles and whatnot, there weren't any major themes that just grabbed me. In Hollow Knight, I loved the Hive, the Ancient Basin, and the Abyss, and I look forward to visiting those areas every time I play. Ori and the Blind Forest, the Ginso Tree, and one specific part of Blackroot Burrows for story reasons. Folks who played the game know the one. But Animal, well, I like the Green Forest area, but I can't say that I'd look forward to going there on a repeat playthrough. Some of the dark areas with the white ghosts that smile when you stand on them are cool, but I wouldn't play the game to visit them specifically. Nah, not a single area has a theme strong enough to hook me the right way to really resonate with me and stick out in my mind. If someone held a gun to my head and demanded that I pick one, I'd probably say the final area? If only because you get the lantern in that area, and that opens up the game so much more. Plus the final boss is pretty cool. What the fuck? What was that? We'll talk about it later. And the red areas with the shadow demons is so damn creepy that I can't help but love it. Again though, I can't say I'd play the game for that part specifically, but who knows, maybe I'll change my mind in the future or something. Oh yeah, the music. It's good. Just good. The ostrich made some freaky noises that I didn't like. And I had to mute the game during the final boss because its theme was a little hard on the ears after a while, but overall the music just felt like it works. I mean, it's all atmospheric, with various sound effects mixed in to make it mesh with the world seamlessly, but none of it's hummable. It just didn't stick with me after I put the game down. Listening to the OST on YouTube, I'd have to say my favorite track is 08 Rotifer, whatever. Hard not to bob my head to that when I hear it in game. Okay, we're moving on to the gameplay section now. Control-wise, the slime character feels pretty good to control. Nothing groundbreaking, but I personally haven't come across any control issues that would hinder the experience. Without any items on hand, your little slime character can't do much other than run and jump, which is nice, but it's not going to fend off the deadly creatures you need to get past. And running and jumping do feel nice, by the way. Each jump you do feels so snappy, especially when you're in the tall room full of bubbles, and just going from one to another is pretty satisfying. So let's talk about the items you can get in this game. I won't go into where you can find them because that'd make this a walkthrough, but there are plenty of those online you can look up if you're really struggling. First item any player needs before they can start the game is a firecracker. These bad boys can light up dark rooms, scare or distract animals, and destroy those bastard dark blue ghost dudes that dare spawn in and try to kill you. First encounter you'll need are against one such bastard dark blue ghost dudes who insta-kills you at the start of the game if you're not prepared. I don't know if you can get by him without using a firecracker, but I couldn't and I didn't. Fuck that guy. Second item, the disc, or frisbee as I kept calling it. I love this thing. Not only does it distract doggos and break stalactites off the cave roof, but I unintentionally discovered that I can ride around on it shortly after getting it. Oh, what, I can sit on this thing? Yo! Well, that's clever. I didn't know that. Boink. Now we're gonna go back. So that's cute. A little bit of extra platforming. I'm not sure how long it took other folks to find that out, but finding that out almost immediately felt so damn rewarding to me. It's a cute and clever mechanic, too. Plus, in getting it, you're faced with one of those rug's been pulled out from under me moments, with that giant white cat wolf thing. Did anyone else grab the disc and run? because I did, and I... Holy shit! Oh god! Oh no! Oh no! Oh god, that thing's gonna fucking kill me! Go away, please! Oh god. Ow. Oh, fine, fine, you can have your disc back! I don't want it! Oh god. Holy shit. What if I just... Oh god. No, that is so not cool. That is so not cool. Here, take it. Fucking take it. Oh my god. Oh my god. What the fuck? What? No. What else could I do in that moment? I didn't have the mock disc on me. Third item, the wireless slink. This useful little thing is gonna be your best friend in terms of delayed button pressing. Many areas have these weird staircases leading down to a button. You have to drop your slink on the top of the stairs, then bolt to the platform it'll activate upon landing on the button. Additionally, there are weird little obstacle courses you have to send your slink through while navigating your own obstacle course to activate buttons to keep your slink moving along the correct path while navigating through openings your slink makes for you on its path across button presses. It can be a convoluted, panicky mess, and one misstep in the entire process means starting over. Not a huge fan of those, but they're certainly interesting at least. I feel bad for any animals that got stuck in that area without their own personal slink to get by though. Also, the slink can be crushed, but I like the sound effect it makes. Item number 4, the yo-yo. Now, admittedly, I didn't like the yo-yo at first. I had trouble trying to figure out how to use it in a puzzle-solving sense, and it felt really gimmicky and awful to control at the time. However, I've come to appreciate the various ways in which it's used. You can distract otters with it, redirect wheel-running animals to redirect their platforms, you can press oddly placed buttons through platforms, and my personal favorite, you can fucking demolish stone spikes like a badass. Dude, you have no idea how satisfying that is. Spikes are a very common environmental hazard in Metroidvanias, especially nature-based environments, and even though there are metal ones the yo-yo won't affect, being able to destroy the stone ones is a blessing all its own. I do want to add something though. When I saw this game's trailers, part of me was anticipating using the yo-yo as a grappling hook of some kind, grabbing onto and swinging off the swingy lights to gain some vertical momentum. Sadly, this isn't the case. It'd be a cool idea for the future though, even if it just grabs boulders on cliff edges to use as a recovery tool or something. That'd be neat. Number 5, the Bubble Wand. I wasn't a huge fan of this gimmick, and I'm still not. The Bubble Wand gives you an additional platform to stand on so you can jump up to higher ledges, but the bubble moves upwards continuously and you can only make one at a time. When you hop on the bubble, it slowly sinks and pops after you jump off. You can press down on the bubble to squish it a bit and make it look like the Big Mode logo, very clever, but the idea of having another platform to jump on isn't as appealing as having an actual double jump. You have to make the bubble, jump on it quickly before it floats away, then jump off before it sinks too much. While a good idea in practice, it's not as satisfying as double jumping and being on your merry way. As I've said a couple of times now, there are vines to limit the item's use in areas where you could cheese the system. But this is a Metroidvania. Using your abilities to bypass obstacles is kind of the point, isn't it? There's a reason we're not limited to only using the double jump in certain areas of Ori or Hollow Knight after we get the Bash and Mothwing Cloak respectively. The devs don't put up walls and shake their finger at us like, you can't use that here, you need to use your double jump. But whatever. It is what it is. In addition, there are whale fans in this game you can use to jump a little higher. Using a floaty bubble in a fan, you can jump higher than you normally would with a double jump, which is cool in concept, but it's not really fleshed out beyond that. Finally, I'd be remiss not to mention that you do get a bubble wand upgrade in a room in the final boss area that lets you shoot out as many bubbles as you want, which upgrades it from annoying to mildly helpful, I guess. Annoying parts of the game can now be totally bypassed with a sea of bubbles, so I thank Basso for giving me the option, but he put it in an area most people won't find near the very end of the game. So most folks are going to use that annoying mechanic without knowing there's a better option. I still would have preferred a double jump, but that's just me. There are 12 items in total, and we're on number 6, the Animal Flute. This is one of those items you unlock via collecting eggs. As I said before, you need 8. And while it does unlock fast travel, it has more uses than that. Different animals will respond differently to the flute. Chinchillas will wake up and waddle over to help you, acting as additional platforms if you don't feel like using your bubble wand. Hedgehogs will curl into a ball and drop off platforms if they were crawling on the sides or bottom. In one certain room, turtles will just pop out of the water. Yo! I don't think the flute works on any boss or ghost creatures though, but you'll need it to get the true ending. I've seen YouTube videos of people playing Smash Mouth's All-Star using Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask gameplay instruments, and I can't wait to see if such a thing is possible with the animal flute in this game. That's always so cool to see. Numero 7, the lantern. This is the last item I got in my initial run of the game, and it's a shame because it's so handy. This isn't just a means to see in a lightless cave, but it also renders ghosts non-physical in this mortal plane. Ghosts that would otherwise be in your way or harm you are now non-corporeal and you can pass right through them. Sometime after you get a few of the flames, you'll come across little spirit patches that might not have been there previously, and they'll hurt you if you pass through them. This lantern dissolves those patches as well, and you see a fantastic example of this in the final area. Hell, it's how you reach the final boss. Now the rest of these items I got after the credits rolled, and they're entirely optional. They make the game a little more interesting, but they're not really fleshed out that well, so they don't live up to their potential, which is why they were delegated to optional items, I guess. Number 8 is the remote. This is a weird little item. As I said before, it activates certain barriers and platforms that would otherwise need a lever pull, but it also makes certain things explode when triggered. You can also control an optional snake boss, if playing Animal Well isn't your thing this late in the game. Number 9 is the top. I wanna say this thing is handy, but it's mostly used for breaking certain ground tiles to reveal hidden paths, egg chests, or buttons. You get it after finding 32 eggs, and you need it if you want to find all the rest, so it's kinda just there, I guess. Number 10 is the wheel. So the wheel kinda sprouts up from nowhere and encases you in a giant hamster wheel. You can still get hurt by enemies while in it, but you won't take damage on metal spikes, and you'll destroy stone spikes like you can with the yo-yo. The problem is that this thing is bulky. You can move faster while in it, but you're far more likely to get stuck on things. It's a shame too, I kinda wanted to run through a rumbling cave-in where stalactites are falling from the ceiling in front of me left and right, just smashing right through them with an avalanche of rocks falling behind me, and I'm just running in the wheel trying to outpace it. That would have been so cool! But, nah. Sit in your wheel and spin to move platforms like the other two animals. Great. Number 11 is the bouncy ball, and it is one of the fucking gimmickiest things in this game. The idea is that you can throw it to distract animals and break stalactites, kinda like a fusion between the disc and the yo-yo, but it's worse than both of those because of its very identity, the bouncy ball. You'll throw it at a stalactite to break it and somehow miss completely and then be forced to wait for it to slow down so you can retrieve it if you want to try again. Same thing if you throw it to distract a dog. Eventually the dog loses interest and you have to retrieve it to try again. Oh, but I'd be remiss if I said that's all the ball is good for. No, you can play a brick breaker game if you throw it at certain colorful blocks. And if the ball falls into water or out of the room, the blocks respawn and you gotta do it all over again. I don't mind brick breakers, but trying to integrate it into your Metroidvania in this way is just not fun. You don't even get multiple tries for failing. At least the ball slows down so you can focus on it. Still, not a fun use of the item, in my opinion. And finally, last and kinda least, honestly, the UV light. Lamp. Wand. Disco stick. Whatever. This thing. I'll just call it the UV from now on. This thing kinda works like your regular lantern, except it doesn't incorporealize ghosts and instead makes everything neon and shows little hidden messages on certain areas. Isn't that exciting? Now you can revisit every area in the game searching for little hidden messages Basso may or may not have put in the game. Am I gonna do that? Fucking no! To be fair though, the UV does show little top symbols where the top can be used to break ground tiles so you're not stuck guessing all the time. Otherwise, I've only seen 2 hidden messages and I'm not interested in revisiting previous areas at this point to see what I might have missed out on. The UV was the last optional item I needed for the true ending, and I only had a couple more eggs left to get, so I was pretty burnt out on the game at that point. But hey, the area you get it in is a dick on the map, so I guess that's a hoot there, Mr. Basso. So obviously, not all items were created equally. but the main ones they gave us were all pretty cool. Before we move on though, I want to talk about item management. See, most of the game I'd been using the L and R bumpers to scroll between items and select the one I need, which was fine with the main items, but once I got more than 7, it became a pain to get what I needed. Something I only recently learned is that if you press X, you'll pull up your item inventory, and this isn't just your inventory, it's a way to pause the game and scroll to the exact item you need. Leave your cursor over your intended item, and when you drop the menu, you'll have it ready to go. Fuck man, wish I knew that sooner. But hey, for a Metroidvania where you have 12 items you actively use to explore the entire map, this wasn't a bad first attempt at item management. Moving on from items, let's talk about the game's combat next, or rather, the lack thereof. Yeah, for the most part, you aren't actually fighting the giant animals in this game, so because you can't fight your foes, you have to outsmart them. See, most of this game's enemies aren't actively pursuing you. You are invading their territory, and for you, they're just in the way. That said, death isn't much of a punishment if you get hit enough or squished. You respawn at the last yellow telephone you saved at, and you don't lose the items you found since your last save. You do start off with 1 lost heart and lose all of your firecrackers, but as far as I know, firecrackers respawn after each death, as well as the fruit you can eat to heal, so sometimes dying can be a faster way of leaving an area you don't want to be in. You don't take any damage from falling in water though, so you can't die that way if you're stuck in a water room. In addition to regular fruit, you can also find blue fruit in certain areas that'll give you an additional heart when eaten, if your health is full. Also, even if you're full on hearts, you can still force your slime to eat fruit by spamming the A button. That's a nice bit of polish right there. Finally, I want to discuss the game's bosses in more detail. I mentioned them briefly in the story section, but I wanted to dedicate them to their own section since I love the way they were handled in this game. So, the 4 main bosses are a wolf cat, a seahorse, a chameleon, and an ostrich. These are all big animals that are guarding the 4 flames you need to bring back to their respective statues in the main area, and each one requires a different strategy to beat. First off, the wolf cat. This thing is freaky. You trigger it by removing the disc from its shrine without putting something there to pacify it. If you don't put it back, it will hunt you down to the ends of the earth. I'm pretty sure the disc gets put back if you die, so you need to obtain the mock disc to swap with the actual disc. Later, you'll uncover a shrine called the M-Disc Shrine, and you need to put something on the pedestal to open the way to the pink flame. I think you know where this is going, as I felt the same wave of dread wash over me when I realized. Mock Disc Shrine, maybe? Oh no! I have to get the mock disc and bring it all the way here? Oh, fuck. I don't want to do that. Oh god, that cat's gonna fucking kill me the entire way. Oh no. Luckily, the Peacock Fast Travel service makes this endeavor much easier than going it on foot. It takes the wolf cat some time to catch up to you after you get to the fast travel room, and some time again after you get to the upper left area you need to be in. I practiced the run a couple of times before grabbing the mock disc, and was able to do it on my second attempt. Oh yeah? Well, fuck you! Just kidding. What I love about this is that it challenges you in a creative way. You aren't locked in an arena and forced to figure out the battle's gimmick to claim victory, but given a goal, a starting point, and a threat. From there, it's up to you to figure out your own path to take in order to solve it. Kinda like a race, if you will, but much less linear. I don't know if it's possible to get the mock disc up to the pedestal without taking the fast travel shortcut, but I imagine that's quite the challenge if it is. I mean, hell, with that thing on your coattails, getting anywhere is a damn challenge. I wonder if there's an achievement for getting all 4 flames while that thing is constantly after you. I don't know, and I ain't fucking trying that. Next, the chameleon. I actually don't know if there are 2 chameleons or just one that happens to show up in 2 separate areas, but assuming there's only one, you encounter this guy in a couple different places in the Green Forest area, and he's pretty intimidating. I actually don't know if his tongue is a one-hit kill, never got hit by it, and I don't intend to find out. When you make your way into his lair, you're faced with a traditional boss fight involving him, you, and some hedgehogs. He's a hungry boy, and if it's between you or the hedgehogs, you're gonna want him to snack on the hedgehogs. After enough munchin', he retreats and leaves the violet flame nice and unguarded. Ain't much to say here, pretty straightforward boss encounter. Not a bad one though, nice to have some tradition mixed into the new. Next is the seahorse, and I have no idea if you'd even consider this thing a boss fight. You enter its lair for the first time and you have to hop on the bubbles it spits out with water to get to the next area. You enter its lair at another location and have to use cranks to aim plates correctly so the water it spits out goes into this little dish thing so you can access the blue flame. The only danger this thing poses to you is pushing you into some metal spikes on the side of the quote-unquote arena. But otherwise it's totally harmless. Hell, you can even revisit it after you take its flame and it's still there, chillin', spitting water at you like nothing ever happened. Finally, the ostrich. This thing is kinda freaky too, but not nearly to the same extent as the wolf cat. The first area you encounter it, you have to hide in little dirt tunnels to activate switches to progress, but the thing stretches its long neck in after you, very reminiscent of the teacher from Little Nightmares 2. And afterwards, you don't see it again until you make this mouse flip with a yo-yo so the platforms go down, find a bunch of caged kitties, do some puzzling, and see it running on a wheel of its own. Ugh, so weird and terrifying. So, after more puzzling and a troll death... Oh! You fucker. You fucking troll. Thanks, Basso. The ostrich's wheel comes down and you have to lead it to a trapdoor over a body of water, with 4 very conveniently placed buttons that you need to hit to progress, all at the same time. What object could possibly be wide enough to hit all 4 buttons at the same time? Maybe a wheel with a giant trolling bastard inside? Yeah, that sounds about right. See ya, fucker! So you take your well-earned green flame and sweet revenge back to the main area. I guess these bosses aren't as different as I thought. They're all different animals, sure, but 2 of them have you running for your life, while 2 of them have you solving puzzles while they attack you. Also, I gotta give them props for animal variety. A large bird, a small lizard, possibly largish land mammal if wolf, or small land mammal if cat, and a small aquatic creature. Unique choices, to be sure. I mentioned eggs a few times now, and those are your primary collectibles. You've heard me say this already, but fast travel unlocks if you find 8, you get a pencil at 16, and the top at 32. But what happens if you find all 64 eggs? Well, you get the 65th egg. That's creepy. But let's hold off on talking about that until the true ending. I will say, I wonder if Basso or anyone at Big Mode is a fan of ProZD.
Don't forget to find all 800 eggs scattered throughout all the world.
Is that optional?
Oh yeah, sure, it's optional.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure, if you don't care about seeing the true ending.
Alright, I guess I'll...
There's obviously not 800, but you can't deny the connection. I'm not sure if this is considered a collectible, but throughout the game there are chests with matches in them and candles that spawn those dark blue bastard ghosts I mentioned before. Collecting all matches and lighting all candles will net you a disc that you can use to access an area that'll give you the UV. Again though, this ain't no guide, so if you want specifics on where to take the disc, you'll have to look elsewhere. I ain't your mama. Finally, there are figurines you can earn by speedrunning the game, speedrunning the true ending, and doing a few other miscellaneous things after the credits rolled. I never found a figurine in my playthrough, but I didn't need them for the true ending, so I ain't concerned. Nice of them to give speedrunners a little prize, though. Okay, let's talk about the head honcho itself, the final boss. So, after you put all the flames back and navigate the last area with these freaky as fuck shadow demons, and this chihuahua, I'm assuming, you face off against... What the fuck? What was that? What the fuck? What are you? Oh, you're gross. I don't know what you are, man, but I want nothing to do with it. Oh my god, what the fuck? Oh god, no, 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 no. Oh, that is disturbing. What am I even looking at? This mass of grudge hair, wide eyes and creeper frown with teeth. It's apparently called a manticore. Whatever it is, it's got rockin' final boss music that I had to mute after a few minutes because it's difficult to listen to when you're trying to puzzle things out. The thing also makes these weird groaning noises at you, and considering Basso voiced the kangaroo, I'm assuming he voiced this thing too. Yeah, it do be one of those days, don't it? While this thing does shoot lasers out of its eyes, I'm not sure if it'll harm you beyond that. I kept the lantern on as much as I could to stop it from reaching for me, cause I'm a pussy, and the only thing I ever got hurt by are the lasers. Huh. Anyway, you escape its grasp, follow a random-ass bunny down to a detonator, set it off to shoot up some nice fireworks, the manticore dies, and the credits roll. Huh. No explanation for why we just murdered that thing. Just like the other bosses, it was just in our way. Okay. Odd thing is, after the credits get done, you enter a house. A straight-up modern house. Complete with working television, a bookshelf, a picture of you, some hanging jackets, and an office you can't gain access to until you do the post-game stuff. Almost like you were always a denizen of this world and you were just playing pretend the entire time to defeat enemies far bigger than you. In fact, the items you pick up along the way, with the exception of firecrackers, are children's toys. Are we? Anyway, that's Animal Well's main ending, but there's a super secret true ending that you get after getting all the side items, 64 hidden Easter eggs, find all the matches, and light all the candles. Far as I know, that's all you gotta do to get the true ending. So, for the ending itself, spoiler warning now. Seriously, don't watch if you don't want to be spoiled. Okay, I'm about to spoil it. It's weird. So, you can use the top in the upper left corner of the puzzle area where you face the first manticore to reveal a hidden room with a throne. Or an incubator, I guess. Placing the egg on the incuthronabator makes a second manticore spawn. And since you used fireworks on the other, you can't get rid of this one as easily. After puzzling things out with the top, wheel, remote, bouncy ball, and flute, don't know if you actually need the UV for this part, I imagine not if you know what areas you need to use the top in. You tame the manticore and it opens its mouth like the other animal had warp points. Instead of warping though, you actually control the fucking final boss and can fly around freely as the credits roll again. As the flying manticore, you'll come across an area with a bunch of bunny statues, that weird transparent donut thing you saw outside the house before, and second manticore. Is that the first one we killed in the non-true ending? Those bunny statues are symbolizing another collectible you might not have been aware of. Secret bunnies. Yes. There's yet another layer of secrets in this game. Truth be told, I did play around with this and got a fair number of the secret bunnies. Thank you, TechRaptor.net, you saved me a lot of frustration and guesswork, but some of the things you have to do are simply beyond me. I mean, fuck man, I did the spike room challenge with the jumping on the disc bullshit, and that was just infuriating. Call it skill issue if you want, but at that point I started to care less and less about finding all the game's secrets. Apparently there's one bunny that's even harder than that, and it requires starting in one room and traveling through other adjacent rooms on bubbles alone. You can't touch the ground or hop on the disc at all. Again, call it skill issue if you want, but the second I read that, I knew that'd be it for me. Apparently the reward for getting all the bunnies is infinite jumping, and there's yet another layer of secrets that involve wingdings messages, a Tamagotchi, and a whole slew of other bullshit criteria to uncover another path that leads to some secret messages from Billy Basso, Dan Edelman, and Video Game Donkey.
This is a good game.
Whether or not that's worth the effort is subjective depending on what you wanted, but even though I don't care enough to go for it, I still think it's a sweet gesture. And hey, even if you decide not to go secret hunting with the wingdings messages and Tamagotchi, chances are pretty good you've at least seen the bunny in the upper left corner of that one room. Even if you decided not to get them, the bunnies are still a cute addition to the game, and it's cool that they have their own secret puzzle. However, I'm not entirely sold on the deeper layered puzzles beyond the true ending. While I'm sure they're a blast for folks who love more intricate puzzles and hidden secrets, they just felt really drawn out for me. The secret bunnies felt like enough of an additional layer beyond the true ending, honestly. Some of the ways you find them are really clever and interesting, while others are just aggravating or needlessly complicated. And a lot of the latter ones rely a little too much on playing the flute. I get that it's easier to hide convoluted puzzle solutions behind your 8-note instrument because those solutions are harder to brute force or stumble upon accidentally. I do. But if a good number of your puzzles can be skipped by a guide listing where you should stand and what notes you should play, opening secret passages to the bunnies in the process, what does that convey about your puzzle solutions? Granted, that's cheating, which one could argue takes the fun out of puzzle solving altogether, but fuck it, man. I'm a busy adult who doesn't have a lot of time for this convoluted shit. I'd rather not waste my gaming time running around the map looking for pillars with map markers and a number of holes on them when I can just take 2 minutes to play the damn solution song and instantly teleport to the fucking bunny. Convoluted puzzles aren't bad, but they simply aren't worthwhile to me. I was curious about the secret bunnies because I thought they were the extent of the additional post-true ending layer of the game. Once I found out that they weren't, gonna be honest, I completely lost interest. The additional puzzles just felt like a carrot on a stick, like I was being led by the nose deeper into the well with content that just refused to end. Although it's a deep, intricate puzzle that means a lot to Basso and Dunkey, it honestly just felt like needless padding to me. As someone who feels compelled to 100% Metroidvania games that she loves, it sucks that I can't do that with this one. I couldn't with Hollow Knight either, but much like the case here, it's a skill issue. That was the point of the true ending content, right? To feel like I 100%ed the game? This secret bunny, wingding, and Tamagotchi shit is for gamers looking for a real challenge. Gamers who think the base game and true ending portion are for baby gamers who need to put down their controllers and go back to... Oh shit. What's a game I can rip on without people tearing me a new one? Balan Wonderland. That's a safe one, right? Everyone hates that one? Oh, fuck. Animal Well is an interesting game. How much the player gets out of it depends entirely on how deep they're willing to dive into it. Many players will simply put it down after the credits roll, and I wouldn't blame them if they decided it wasn't a very good game. Puzzle-heavy games are inherently going to be hit or miss, especially in Metroidvanias where there's a lot of traveling and backtracking after you get new abilities. There were plenty of times when I uttered an exasperated sigh during the main campaign. Not all of the secret egg puzzles were total winners either, but despite the game's flaws, I still think it's fantastic. You can really see the amount of love Billy Basso put into it. It's rough around the edges, you know, it ain't perfect. But for his first attempt at an independent release, Billy really nailed it. What we have here is a passion project that AAA developers could fucking learn from. You don't need big HD graphics or weird-ass game mechanics and 64 gigabytes of available space to make a fantastic game. You just need to put some fucking heart into it. Also, it wouldn't hurt for you to show us you have a sense of humor. Troll us a little. Now I know that light from previous areas can trigger... Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh, that's so not cool! Oh god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! He's right on my tail! Go! Go! Oh, that is so not cool! What the fuck? No! Oh! No! Oh my god! What the fuck? That is so not cool! That is not cool! What? No! Let me down! Let me down! Oh god, I'm gonna die! I'm gonna die! Oh. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. I really don't want to. That thing is so creepy. Oh. Thanks, Billy. Fuck you too.